day for towies and smash repairers. A little light rain about midday brought with it the expected spate of minor pranks. But with the drought, things haven't been good for them in recent months. Add to that the downturn in spending generally, and the biggest bogey of all, random breath testing, and things really look grim in the towing and panel beating industry. There's talk around town of one operator who found things so slack he used his tow truck to take a holiday at Broken Hill. Panel beating shops are also in trouble. They've only just recovered from a lengthy battle with insurance companies over hourly payments. Now, business is down by half anyway, according to the manager of Fenwick Smash Repairs, Paul Wade.
I'd say it'd be down 50% at least, with accidents off the street. Like the rust work and a little bit like this is still around, but just insurance jobs off the street and towing and that is down 50% at least.
So with the situation like that generally throughout Newcastle, can you see panel shops going to the wall over this?
I can see some of the smaller sheds going to the wall for sure. And like a lot of the bigger sheds, we're pretty lucky, we're only a small firm, but a lot of the bigger sheds, well, they've got a lot more commitments than us, and I'd say they're the ones that will have to go to a 4-day week or lay men off.
This ward behind me has only had 6 weeks' use since Wyong Hospital was built 2.5 years ago. It's a 20-bed ward with individual rooms designed for care of the elderly, and it's the only ward in the hospital that is air-conditioned. We were unable to get permission to enter Wyong Hospital today, but reports say 29 patients were in the hospital over the weekend. They were accommodated in a 30-bed ward, which is cooled by ceiling fans. The patients complained this form of cooling wasn't adequate in the weekend's sweltering conditions. A spokesman for the hospital says it was impractical to move the patients into the air-conditioned wing because of the lack of space and facilities for the various patients. The vacant ward was closed because of lack of funds for staffing. Wyong on the Central Coast may look lush, but it's facing a water shortage. Mr John Dawson, Secretary of the Wyong Gosford Joint Water Supply Committee, says the restrictions are a precautionary measure.
It's as serious as it's been here now for 2 years. Storages are falling fairly rapidly and consumption is maintained at record levels.
The restrictions are quite strict. Why is that?
Restrictions are half-hour handheld hose each day. The Joint Water Supply Committee were very reluctant to impose restrictions of that nature, but history has shown that restrictions of any lesser nature do not conserve water, that just does not result in sufficient reduction in the consumption.
This is Marty Dam to the west of Wyong. It's one of 3 dams that service Gosford and Wyong, and it's now down to 57% of its capacity. Residents who fail to comply with the restrictions will have their town water supply cut off, and it will cost $70 to have the service put back on. If householders are caught breaking the restrictions a second time, there's a chance they may not have their water supply reconnected.
Newcastle's car industry apparently has the ability to stay on top in spite of tight economic conditions. The second year running, Cardiff Toyota is the largest independent Toyota franchise in New South Wales. And Cardiff Toyota's performance is not isolated. David's Datsun at Gateshead is the second largest Datsun dealership outside the distributor in New South Wales. As well, Crossroads Mitsubishi is the third largest Mitsubishi dealer in the state and the fourth largest in Australia. An associate company, Delforce Daihatsu, is Australia's largest Daihatsu dealer. In the battle between Ford and Holden, Gloucester Ford comes out on top, being ranked 9th in Australia and the largest outside a capital city. GMH dealer Young & Green is the state's 5th largest, although in Newcastle the Holden market share is down on the state average. According to all dealers, this intense competition has been to the public's benefit. They say at the moment they're selling about the same number of cars as the previous year, but they're making less money out of each sale. But although they're working harder, dealers are still optimistic about 1983. One sales area showing strong growth is the light commercial recreation vehicle market. David Suzuki at Katara has for 2 years been the largest Suzuki dealer in Australia. And Crossroads Mitsubishi claims it's already sold 6 of Mitsubishi's latest four-wheel drive, sight unseen. The new model arrived in Newcastle only last night.
As the crowd applauded, it was a very nervous and excited Brett Austin that made his way to the stage to be bestowed with the title Sportsman of the Year. Brett's award was presented by Australian track superstar Raylene Boyle and sporting commentator Daryl Eastlake.
To all the sportsmen that made the finals, I think I was lucky, real lucky. A lot of fine sportsmen, and you all should be congratulated for coming this far. I thought I was staked making the finals. To all my friends, to my dad, as you know, Daryl is my coach. There's none better in Australia, and I doubt if there's any better in the world. I wouldn't have come this far without him, and I wouldn't have come this far without the backing of, my parents, my brothers and sisters, my girlfriend, and my mates. Thanks very much.
Brett Austin is perhaps better known overseas than he is in his own country. In the last world titles, held in the United States, Brett took out the World Open Double Mini Trampoline title, the World Open Double Mini Teams Championship, and the Over-19 World Age Synchronised Trampoline title. That made him the championship's most successful competitor. Brett also holds 3 national crowns and 5 state titles. He is the only trampolinist graded at master level in Australia and holds a world record for doing 10 triple somersaults. World surfing champion Mark Richards was among the 13 finalists for the Sportsman of the Year title. Mark is without a doubt Newcastle's best sporting export. He is a household name in all surfing countries of the world. But most importantly, he is the only surfer ever to take out the world crown for 4 consecutive years. That triumph didn't go unrecognised last night. Mark was presented with a specially struck gold medallion simply for his sporting excellence.
It is anticipated that by the end of the month we will announce reductions in rates paid to investors.
So that's the bad news.
That is correct.
What will the reduction actually be?
It has not yet been determined, but by the 25th of the month we will be able to tell you what this rate is, what the reduction is.
Well, to home loan borrowers, what does that 1% reduction mean in monetary terms?
A typical borrower borrowing $30,000 from the Society over a 25-year term will have to pay $22.94 per month less than he has been paying.
The Newcastle Permanent Building Society is also expected to announce a 1% cut in home loan interest rates tomorrow.
Our board is most anxious to see borrowers' rates reduced so that it will enable more people to take advantage of the finance that is available to purchase their own homes.
Thank you. Andrew's mate, 7-year-old Scott Brown of Tyres Hill, today relived yesterday's drama.
Well, when Andrew jumped onto the ladder, he was looking at me and he fell down his leg. He fell down and his leg fell onto the track and he got run over.
And what did you do then?
I ran over and dragged him along to the fence and I got someone to get help.
I see. So you couldn't drag him any further than the fence?
No.
And then what did the man do then?
Took him up to the fire station and the fire station rang the ambulance.
I'm over in Japan studying under a working holiday visa arrangement between Japan and Australia. Unfortunately, you can only stay there for 18 months. So I've had to come home for 10 days to renew my visa and fix up a few other personal things. I'm going back to Japan to do some training, an intensive training course in Okinawa.
John, we were looking at your demonstration there before. Can you explain that a little bit to us?
Well, I'm studying a classical sword school. This school is 500 years old. The school is based in Narita, near the international airport there, and the kata we're doing are some of the 8 kata which you have to learn to get your Shodan grading. I've been training there for 18 months. I was fortunate enough to get my knee down while I was over there.
John, where is your career going after you finished your training in Japan?
Well, I'll be coming back to Japan, training in Newcastle in Rugby International, teaching some of the martial arts I've been learning over in Japan. From there I'll be going down to Canberra to study at the Canberra College of Advanced Education to do sports coaching and to renew my club in Rembukan International Karate over there.
It's called the Multiple Integrated Laser Engagement System, MILES for short, and although the US Army has spent $110 million equipping soldiers, tanks and aircraft with the laser system, it will never be used on a battlefield. MILES is not a weapons system. Rather, its sole purpose is to put some reality into war games.
Of the MILES system is a laser sending unit. It is a lens that sends out the laser in the direction in which you are firing. Right? These little round sensors will pick up the laser that is sent down by the laser transmitter and accordingly kill the soldier or record a near miss.
To demonstrate the system, the Hawaii-based 100th Battalion of the US Army, which has been training at Singleton with the University of New South Wales Regiment, staged an attack on several infiltrators keeping in a copse of trees. Ducking and weaving through the tall grass, the attackers and defenders soon found out whether they'd be quick or dead in the real situation. Eventually, to the cheers of the watching troops, the baddies were wiped out in a series of laser-tripped feats. It might all seem like an expensive game, but the Australian Army will soon evaluate MILES and a similar system. And watching officers say the added realism is needed in training.
Well, I think it's going to prove, it has proved itself to be a very useful training aid, the most valuable aspect being to indicate to a soldier that he might be hit when he's putting in an attack. That'll make him more careful and ultimately may save his life.
Yes, we're very excited about actually to get a referee of the standing of Mr. Raskagnis, who did referee the test matches in England, to come out especially all the way from France to referee one match, and it's in Newcastle. It's really outstanding. We're very pleased about it.
Is it the Newcastle Rugby League that are bringing him out, Graham, or is he actually sponsored?
He is sponsored by Howard Smith and Patrick Travel and with the cooperation of Air France, and they are actually footing the bill to get him out here. As I say, we're very pleased about it.
Is he only out here just for the match, or will he be out a couple of days before and a couple of days after?
He'll be here for a week at least, and we will be taking him around Newcastle. We have a small problem that he cannot speak English, but we'll get around that okay with a nice young interpreter we hope for him.
The Newcastle Rugby League Board of Directors discussed disciplinary action against Western Suburbs halfback Bob Payton last night with his continual lack of appearances at the Newcastle representative training sessions.
Well, I don't get a vote on the league board, so I couldn't really comment on that. Player Payton will be dealt with, of course. This particular match, there's a tremendous amount of importance being placed on the Newcastle side. We want them fit, we want a good side. We're going in against the world's best club side, and we're going to put up a good show, and we won't stand for any mucking around as far as that's concerned.
I know you've got a high regard for Bags. Is it a little bit worrying to you that he's not showing the interest in this particular match?
Yeah, it is. I'd say it'd be worrying to everybody involved with rugby league because he's such a brilliant little footballer. I feel that he's the one that's suffering mainly now from it.
The match opened with both players endeavouring to win points with their natural baseline game. Wilander had won their two previous meetings, including the French Open in 1982, and the first set lasted an hour as the young Swede won the first set 7-5. But then the Argentinian Clerc surprised everyone and used his awesome power to trouble Wilander and win the second set 6-4 with blistering drives on both sides of the court. Clerc, more used to the slow clay courts, was in devastating form against the young Swede, and he didn't let up on Wilander and continued his aggressive approach, breezing through the third set 6-1 to set up a meeting with John McEnroe in the second round. Final score and a win to José Louis Clerc in the Volvo Masters, 5-7, 6-4, 6-1.